Anybody in this unregulated world of coaching can pop up and say they're an ADHD coach. Yeah. And I know you and I have had that conversation over the years many times. Why did you go down a year-long course to become a qualified coach for children with ADHD?
I didn't know that. I'm learning from both, you know. So you can pay £47 to call yourself an ADHD.
I mean, I think it's even cheaper some places. It's crazy.
We have to have some regulation and some standards around coaching.
I was still, you know, that naughty girl, the one that rolled out the window for a laugh. And the GCSE papers were higher or lower. And they said, right, well, we're putting you in, Charlie, for the lower paper for all of them. And my dad was like, no, you're not. He said, she's doing the higher paper without telling me. I said, okay, Dad, well, you've put me in for it, but I'm doing it on my own. I don't want your help. You're not telling me what to do. I'm going to do it on my own. I got the best results in the history of that school.
You've just described it as a care label is now able to be written and put inside the jumper that actually says this is the care you need to give yourself. Yeah. This is the care that other people need. I've never heard that expression before, ever. And I think I'm going to steal that with pride because that is hugely informational, isn't it? What's on the care label? So what's on the care label for the people you're coaching? Charlie Faulkner.
Hello.
Wow, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Looking forward to it.
Really, really looking forward to having a conversation with you on camera. First thing I'd like to do, for everybody's benefit, is position you as to why you're here having this conversation. So I know you as an ADHD mum, an ADHD coach, somebody who's just walked away from a really big job and a really big career to go out on your own venture. And we'll talk about what it is you're going to do. How would you describe yourself?
God, do you know what? That's a really good question. How would I describe myself? I am fiercely passionate about advocating for children. I've got this thing of, you know, when you go into a room, be the most enthusiastic person in the room. Or if you're lost, be enthusiastically lost. So I'm just enthusiastic about anything and everything that connects to my heart and soul. So it could be anything at any moment in time, to be honest.
I'll resonate, bringing positivity to everything you do.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Is there a moment in childhood where, dare I say, things weren't easy and weren't positive, so you've always tried to then reframe that, or?
I don't know. I think it's always, I've been brought up by my dad, and he's always been a really kind of this, you know, whatever you put your heart and soul to, you will do well in. So I've always had this deep sense of knowing that everything will be okay. So I just think, well, I mean, and don't get me wrong, there have been some really hard times, as everybody goes through in life, but there's always been an underlying feeling of, I know I'm going to be okay. So it's like, well, if you know you're going to be okay, why would you not want to be the happiest in that? Because this is the only life that I know of that I'm having right now, and I just want it to be the best one. So
I love that. And the work you do with kids and that sort of passion you've got, that sounds like your father, that's a beautiful way to be brought up, right? The best version is to bring the best version of yourself, everything you do, and I can relate to that. But why is it so important now to give back to kids?
Predominantly because of my own parenting journey. I've got a daughter who was diagnosed, I think about 4 or 5 years ago now. And I see her struggle, and I see a lot of similarities in how she navigates life, how she's perceived by systems that are around her, and the impact that it has. And I think ADHD is, I'm not here saying it's fantastic, it's the best thing to have, because there are times when it's really not, and it is really hard. But it's about kind of, just getting her to understand herself, her brain, how she navigates the world, what her values are, and why sometimes that feels really hard when she butts up against things, and to kind of create that space between her and the outside world so that it doesn't crush her. And I don't want that for any child either. When she was diagnosed, it was before this boom, and it was just down the NHS pathway, which was just basically one paragraph on a report. And it was, do you want medication or not? Well, at that point, no, I didn't. So then it was kind of like, book shut, on you go. I was like, where do I go from here? I want to learn how, I want to learn more. And being that enthusiastic person, wanting to know and be enthusiastic, I then went down a year-long course with the IAC Centre and became an accredited coach, ADHD coach for children. So, yeah, I don't know.
Let's talk about that then for a second, if we can. That's a great reason to become professionalised at something you're doing, because you could see the gaps. The book, as you say, one paragraph, the book closed. If you're not having medication, you're not having anything. Ta-da. And now you're, as I see you, you're in a position to help other mums who are in that position through your coaching work. You went on a year-long course to be a coach. I think it's really important that we bring that out, because anybody in this unregulated world of coaching can pop up and say they're an ADHD coach. Yeah. And I know you and I have had that conversation over the years many times. Why did you go down a year-long course to become a qualified coach for children with ADHD? What made you at the start go on that whole journey, not just pop up?
I think it's because firstly, I come from a family of therapists. My dad's a psychotherapist with a core process psychotherapist. So I see the value in talking, but I also see the vulnerability and the space that you're creating for that person. And if you don't know something and you're talking to somebody about it and you don't fully understand it and empathize with it, then there can be a lot of damage that's done. And I don't, I could have spent, £47 for a day training to become an ADHD coach. Would I have integrity in doing that? No, I wouldn't want to do that. And I think of, if I'm going to send my daughter somewhere, what would I be looking for? I would want to know that they know their onions. I'd want to know that they've got everything, ticked off. So I just wanted to bring that as well, because integrity is a really important piece of that puzzle. And I think, particularly with children, they're developing rapidly, and if you can't hold them in that space from a place of knowing, then don't do it.
I didn't know that. I'm learning from both of you now. So you can pay £47 to call yourself an ADHD.
I think it's even cheaper some places. It's crazy.
So if I'm looking in now with my wife, say, what's the accreditation? What's the kind of journey I go on to find someone that is ultimately qualified to give the information I want?
I think it's important to get a coach that is ICF accredited, because, like Phil was saying, it is an unregulated industry, coaching. It's not like counselling or psychotherapy that is heavily regulated. Coaching isn't. But I mean, in saying that, and I don't know why it's not regulated, because I think coaching is such a beautiful space for neurodivergent, people as a whole, but particularly children, because it's giving them that opportunity to have control. So you're kind of doing it with the mindset of everything that you need to know and succeed is within you. I'm not coming in here as an expert and saying, well, do this strategy, do that, do this, do that. It's very much led by them. And that's what I love about that coaching journey, because it's like, here you are, I meet you here. Where do you want to be? How do we get you there? And it's,
I love that. So the tools are all there.
Yeah.
You're the one that helps. And you must have so much perspective and experience now of children you're helping. Is there one kind of overriding, I don't want to call it an issue, but something you find you're delving into more and more that kids need help with, if you like, in the world we live in now?
So many.
Okay.
How long have we got?
No, that's actually quite good to know. I just wondered if there was one, because anyone watching, listening, and I've got two daughters myself that are undiagnosed, but obviously I'm diagnosed. I know it's hereditary. So I was wondering if there was one thing that anyone could actually ultimately learn from this conversation, where you as the coach, with that sort of almost huge spectrum of, but if it's lots of things, then that shows how much help is needed.
Yeah, I mean, it is it's an absolute ton of things that's needed. It spans, it's pervasive ADHD. There's so many, and these children are in education where it is very much system led, and you can go and choose a school with lovely values, but their policy often doesn't equal their value. And I think what I do see in children, if I was to put it as an overarching thing, it's their self-esteem. That's the bit for me that gets squashed over time. And that's the bit for me as a coach. I do not want that. I've got no time. I've got no space for that whatsoever. Like, I want kids to succeed. I want them to be themselves. I want them to be authentic, and I want them to feel safe and able to do that. I mean, one of the kids that, it was just this week actually, that I coach at a school. When I started seeing him 2 years ago, he wouldn't put his hand up in class. You know, it's that, you know, the rejection sensitivity disorder ran so deep in him. And we've worked together over the past couple of years, just half an hour a week, 1-to-1. He's now head boy at the school.
Wow.
And he put himself forward for that. Nobody pushed him. He said, I want to do it. And I was like, this is huge. This is amazing. He was like, I know.
That must be so fulfilling for you as well.
Fulfilling,
you quite simply know that boy would not be a boy if it wasn't for the coaching.
Yeah.
And the parents.
Yeah.
Talking. So listening to you as a dad of 2 young girls, and knowing your work and knowing what you stand for with your work, we have to be very clear that coaching doesn't become therapy, don't we?
Yeah.
And those deep and meaningful coaching conversations, if we're not careful and we don't have rigid barriers at that point, can morph into a therapeutic thing.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I think we need more regulation.
100%.
Because if you're not trained on where that stop point is, what's your view of that? What's your perspective? And how do you manifest that in your work? Because I think it's really important for any mum or dad watching this that they understand what coaching is, but also understand what coaching absolutely isn't.
Yeah.
Especially with you having a dad who's a therapist.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he trained for 7 years. I did 1. Yeah. So it's kind of, we're worlds apart in that. And I think the way that I see it, and it's an analogy that I always kind of keep in my head, it's a swimming pool. And as a coach, you don't get in the pool with the kid. You're not in the waters with the kids. You're on the outside saying, you can do this. Or like if somebody's riding a bike, you're on the side, you can do this. A therapist would be, okay, well, you're in the water. Why are you in the water? Let's discuss that and let's figure that out. Whereas a coach is very much on the outside cheering you on, saying, yeah, we get that you've got all of these things that you struggle with here. How can we get those? How can we move you forward? Knowing those.
Yeah. Okay. I get that. I do get that. And I think it's an important distinction. You're not getting in the water. You're not getting into the emotions with that young person. You're helping them from the side of the pool and coaching them through. And as a coach, are you a member? I seem to recall that you are a member of a professional body that kind of oversees standards and qualities. Is that
the ACO?
ACO,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I think almost sadly, but I'm going to take the word sadly out because I think we have an international audience and wouldn't want to offend anyone. That's an American organisation. We don't have that over here, do we? Sadly, we don't have that over here. That kind of overarching regulatory body, but they are looking to bring that over here as a framework because we have to. We have to have some regulation and some standards around coaching. Moving on then. Yeah. You sat next to me at the international conference we met at 3 years ago or whenever it was, 2 years ago, saying, I want to be a coach, but I'm not sure what coaching I want to do. Do you remember that conversation that we had? I'm qualified, but I don't know exactly what my USP is. And one of the things you did do from that point was develop the uni coach perspective. Do you remember? Yeah. Yeah. And I want to pick that out before we start to talk about mums and ADHD. Pick out the uni coach because many people sit in front of us and say how difficult it is to transition from being helped to have your parents with you, the cooking for you, the managing your budget, to go to university and be alone for the first time. Talk to me about, and we should declare that you uni coached my stepson who we've had on this program. Talk to me about the kind of work you did with him and others as the uni coach, because I think it's a fascinating aspect of young adulthood that doesn't get supported.
Yeah, so I think it's, I think that kind of, the talk that we listened to, it kind of highlighted the impact and the percentage. I can't remember the percentage off the top of my head now, but of students that get to university. So these are neurodivergent students that have battled a system, battled against their executive functions and had the whole lot thrown at them. They've got to the point of university where it is fully independent and everything falls away. and they last. I think it was like it dropped off significantly by year 2, didn't it? And it's and it just hit my heart so hard, because I just thought, how sad is that? It's not that they're not capable of having a degree. It's that scaffolding that you do, like as a parent, as a teacher, when they're in primary, secondary, they have that scaffolding, and then that all falls away when, you know, you go to university and you're expected to manage your money, you're expected to manage different social arrangements. There's partying, there's alcohol, there's time management, there's, you know, there's not somebody standing over saying you need to be at this lecture. And it's and it's a really difficult age, I think, that in that university age, in terms of they want to be their own person at that point. You know, mum and dad's voice, they don't want to be hearing it a lot of the time. And what I found was it was a really lovely space to create as an ADHD uni coach, is because I'm in the middle. I'm not there as a parent. I'm not there as a teacher. I'm there to support them going through and to scaffold them as best as I can. So I think for a lot of them, it's that accountability side of it. It's kind of saying, okay, well, and breaking it down and knowing when they've got assignments due in and breaking that down for them and saying, right, okay, well, what do you need from me? What is going to hold you accountable? So it's all led by them. So then we would,
That's really interesting, because there's an element of with RSD involved as well, where you said, you know, that it's expected of the kids themselves, who are now grown up by default going to uni, that they should know how to cook, do their laundry. And there's an element of, I don't want to call it shame, but like, I don't know how to do that, but I don't actually want to let my friends, my new friends know, because there's a tribal element to that. So where do you go to ask that? And there's probably no help from the uni themselves. So that's. And are you still doing that?
Yeah.
So
I love it. I really love it.
I can tell. I can see you light up with it. So I'd love to know how well received that was, based on that sort of fear of asking, and how you've managed to infiltrate and get through to kids that are going through that journey to now being, I'm an adult, but I don't really want to ask anyone, why will they be safe with you?
I think when I've always had the calls, those introduction calls, it's normally with the parent and the child. Well, not child, it's a young adult at that point. I keep saying child because
me too, but it is a transition, right? That is probably the moment they overcome
transition as well.
And it's just about saying, you know, it's just trying to get them to understand that it is a safe space. I'm not here to shame, and I get how difficult it is, and I also get how amazing it is that they're here at this point in life, ready to take on university. I never got to that place. You know, I mean, I don't want to bleed on about myself here at all, but I haven't been formally diagnosed yet. However, you know, looking at my education myself, you know, primary school was always the naughty kid. Like in year 6, I stole red hair dye and dyed my hair in the toilets. That's age 10. Because I wanted to be Jerry from the Spice Girls, you know. And that I've got a ton of stories, you know, that follow that kind of ilk. And then, so going to secondary school, I was still, you know, that naughty gal, the one that rolled out the window for a laugh. And, you know, and I was never, and in those days, the GCSE papers were higher or lower. And they said, right, well, we're putting you in, Charlie, for the lower paper for all of them. And my dad was like, no, you're not. She's not just walking away with C's here as the maximum. He said, she's doing the higher paper, without telling me. Like, didn't tell me at all. Anyway, he got his wishes and he said, right, you're going for the higher paper. And I was like, oh, well. And I'd never been academic up until this point, ever. Like, I didn't even see that I was academic. And I said, okay, Dad, well, you've put me in for it, but I'm doing it on my own. I don't want your help. You're not telling me what to do. I'm going to do it on my own. I got the best results in the history of that school. But it was on sheer grit and proving them wrong. So then I thought, I am so smart. I'm like Einstein. I'm so clever. I'm going to go to grammar school now to do my A-levels just to show everybody, actually, I am grammar school worthy. I am smart. But I didn't have that same drive. I just thought I was naturally clever, and I'm not. and I absolutely crashed and burned at A-level, walked away with barely anything. And then still, obviously, because I didn't know anything about ADHD. And then I thought, it's okay. I'm just going to do a degree through the Open University. I mean, how ridiculous an idea was that? I didn't do it. So when I see kids that come through and they've got to that stage where they have shown up, the resilience and the grit that it's taken them to show up to the point of being at university, I damn well want to make sure that they are getting the support that they need to get through the line.
Brilliant what you're doing. And there's a purpose element to that as well, right? I went to university and I left without getting a degree because I didn't end up having any sort of manifestation of what I'd used the degree for my career, if you like. And I lost my way, got distracted with all the other things that go on with university. When you're having these chats, do you kind of always try and identify the purpose? Because a lot of these, I'm going to call you kids again, but I go into university because the parents want them to, and it's the tradition, which is definitely where I was at. To then realise it didn't feel like it was right for me. I hadn't enjoyed algebra at school. I hadn't enjoyed the system that had been created. I needed to get out to find myself. How do you do that when you might have the parents on the call? And you get my point. There could be someone's going to university and it's like he's doing a business degree, but it's not necessarily what he or she wants to do.
I mean, to be honest, when I work with the young adults or the children, they're the only one that matters to me. I'm not really interested in what the parent wants or doesn't want.
It's the right way to do it.
I want to be there to support them. That's what I'm there to do. And it is so important to be connected to your passion, because if you're not, that intrinsic motivation, that's lagging. So not only is that lagging, but then you're also kind of trying to put effort into something that you're not really fully connected to. It's not
going to happen for a person with ADHD, is it? And your motivation became your dopamine rush. That became your dopamine to get your O levels and your GCSEs. I'll challenge you on when you said, and you said it with passion, I'm not that interested with the parents. I know from I know from parents who you've worked with their children through uni. What you then give the backstory to the parents is, I've got this. You can relax. Here's the evidence of how I've got this. Young Billy is on track. Young Billy we've broken it down the next assignment. Here's the structure of that, but I've got this. You can actually be mum and dad. You don't have to be the scaffolder. So you do care about the parents.
Sorry, that was,
And I wouldn't want you to misrepresent yourself, because I've seen how you focus immensely on the young person. You give the parents the peace of mind that someone's got it, because the establishment doesn't give it. You give it. You give that scaffolding. In that very serious set of conversations there, you said you're not formally diagnosed with ADHD. You've gone through a screening process. You've gone through the QB test. And you don't know the result of your QB test, do you know? No, I do.
You love that, don't you?
Yeah. Power. The power of the market.
Oh, such a man.
So your QB test indicates that you're in the top 7% for people who were likely to have ADHD.
Okay.
Does that come as a surprise to you?
No.
Does it come as a surprise to anybody around you?
No. Absolutely not, no.
So Charlie the procrastinator, over not getting it done, where does that leave your procrastination now that you have that information?
Do you know what it's, and I saw it in my daughter when we received her formal diagnosis, the relief on her face. I feel that. I can feel it in my body. I feel like my shoulders feel like they're dropping. I just feel, okay. And I think it's very different thinking something and knowing something, isn't it? And I see diagnosis as, I can't remember who it was, but it was somebody at the conference described the whole diagnosis process as like having a care label in your garments that you wear. And, it helps other people know how to work with you. It lets you know how to work with yourself. If you put a black top and the white T-shirt, the chances are that it's going to colour leak. So you don't want to be doing that. Or you put a lovely cashmere jumper in. It's the same way with us people. And I just think I might actually give myself a little bit of a break in just bashing myself or just saying you're rubbish.
That's how I was going to say forgiveness.
You can and that's not a diagnosis.
No.
But that says if you were to go on to a diagnosis, there's a very strong likelihood of you being ADHD, as you damn well know. But the moment, we've never done that live on camera, have we? We've never given anybody information live on camera.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
At least we gave a warning.
Yeah, thanks for that.
I think Charlie knew what was coming. But I could sense in you the moment I said that validation, just even in that level. And we talk a lot, don't we, about the process isn't just about what's next in terms of treatment, scaffolding, medication, whatever. You just described it as a care label is now able to be written and put inside the jumper that actually says, this is the care you need to give yourself.
Yeah.
This is the care that other people need. I've never heard that expression before, ever. And I think I'm going to steal that with pride, because that is hugely informational, isn't it? What's on the care label? So what's on the care label for the people you're coaching? And as you answer that question, you started coaching young mums of people, kids with ADHD. What's on the care label for a young mum with ADHD? It's a great segue into that part of your career.
What's on the care label?
What do you give
for the
them?
mums?
Yeah.
A safe space to be. Sounds really quite vast, isn't it? It's seeing them, I think. It's seeing and validating their experience, and knowing that there are always other stories available. So once we know what we're dealing with, once we know if your child's neurodivergent or you suspect it, and that's the household that you're in, the chances are you are as well. And it's about just kind of, I just want to put a big warm blanket over them of like, come and work with me.
Come and have a cuddle.
Come and have a cuddle. Yeah.
That's probably just what they need as well, right?
Yeah.
Quite isolating. Thankless.
Yeah.
I'm sort of thinking, without diagnosis, I'm thinking that that's a key part of feedback. And my wife's most likely, she's gone through the first screening, and so she's where you're at, actually.
Yeah.
And she's fed back to me that it's just a loneliness element. It needs a cuddle.
Yeah. And you grow up thinking your parenting journey is going to be one way, and then it turns out to be something different. But different doesn't mean bad. It doesn't need to mean hard. It just needs a different care label. You just need to be in the right environment to get that support and to feel that nurture and to feel seen. Because I think, and that's the same thing I see in these kids when I coach. The moment they feel seen, that they feel validated, that they've got that space to be them, that's what they need. That they are perfectly fine just the way they are.
So in this amazing conversation, we've been very nurturing. We talk about your nurturing element. We talked about with structure, how you do who you are and how you go about things, the regulatory framework. Of course, there's another side to you, and I want people. I know where this is going. I want people to actually see the other side of you, and that's the ADHD-free child part of you, the fun part of you.
Yeah.
We were in Baltimore at this conference. It's a big, massive, important international conference that's annual. And then one morning we all met to go back into the conference, and you'd been sharing a room with your best mate, Nat, and you'd surprised her with a gift, and you sent me a photograph. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. This is the free child side of a very straightforward, serious person with a great role. What did you give her as her present? Because it was right on Christmas, 1st of December, wasn't it?
1st December, yeah. Very important day of the calendar. Yep. So I bought matching pajamas for us and reindeer antlers. And Nat is a very successful lady, very professional. And I was like, we're doing a star jump competition in our room tonight. So it's just us two with our matching pajamas and reindeer. So we did star jumps off the bed. It was brilliant.
Never grow up. I love that.
And that's the thing. I think we all forget as adults, don't we? I think this is, why I started with children, is because they have so much joy in them, and how sad it is that we become these adults that just go to work, eat, sleep, repeat, and we miss out on all of that joy. And us neurodivergent people need that joy. That's what we're here to bring.
Gets knocked out of so many people.
And bored.
It's a key part of what I think the work you're doing. And I think there's an element of the work you do with the kids that reminds the parents of that as well. And I think from a neurodivergent point of view, certainly my experience of being kind of told I was not fitting in was naughty, and I wasn't behaving right for that one size that clearly doesn't fit all, stifled a lot of my creativity, a lot of my expression.
Yeah.
To then almost be a bit like a cork in a bottle to then couldn't wait to get out of that, to then go, right, blah.
Yeah.
And then I've done that in all sorts of different ways as an adult.
Yeah.
If I could have had someone that could have allowed me to say, actually, there's certain things maybe you don't behave like that in that environment and so on, but it's still good to express yourself and be told it was okay and be seen, all the things you just said.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
And I've seen you in your tribe when you did your year-long training, and then you still connect and reconnect with people that were on the same course and program with you. And a lot of those people were in Baltimore with us together, and I've seen you connect to your tribe. And it's exactly what you were saying. You all gave each other permission to be fun and bring the joy, even at a very serious conference. And I watched you all supporting each other's joy, even though there was some very serious stuff being discussed and being worked with. And I think that's one of the reasons that I've worked with you previously, is because, and I want you to hear this feedback from me, you have got a very genuine, structured approach to how you do what you do professionally, but you're also as mad as a wasp and bring the joy.
She's a bee. Don't like wasps. Okay.
As mad as a bee. No, but you've also got that funfulness, and I think that's really important for anybody watching this. You can still be yourself and still achieve and still give to others. And I think that's a unique gift that you've brought to the table. Yeah, and I didn't want to lose that funfulness piece as we wind out.
No, it's lovely. We spoke just literally before we started filming about something to capture and relatability. Mm-hmm. And following on from what you just said, some of the most successful people that I know through business and socially, they want to have fun. Yeah, they're still having fun. Yeah, it's they use that word serious. They're around board tables, multi-billions going on. Mm. And I see them in the fun environment, and they let loose. They want that. They recognise and understand that is a key part. And actually, that neurodivergent conversation has come in. So a lot of these people see the work we're doing here, and they identify. Yeah, they're not diagnosed, or if they are, they're not talking about it. But there's that relatability which you bring to this, and starting that young, and then allowing the parents to also then have that whole understand that it's powerful.
Charlie, thank you. Thank you for an amazing interview, an amazing time. Never lose the fun, but keep doing what you do, because it's brilliant. You add great value.
Keep being a bee.
Yeah, keep being a bee. Never a wasp.
Never a wasp.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.